My name is Max Rutherford, and I'm here with Pictureline. And today we are joined by Ryan White from Rode, and he's going to talk about the NT1A and what makes it such a fantastic microphone. So Ryan, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Max, thanks for having me. Always fun to come out and do these question and answers just to kind of introduce everybody to what Rode has to offer and how they can help you out with your audio needs.
Great. So I guess to start off the bat, in general, what makes the NT1A awesome?
So funny enough, NT1A was my first microphone ever that I personally bought, that I wasn't using as either somebody that worked in a studio or somebody that worked at a live sound venue. I bought it. It was mine. So the first thing is affordability. Honestly, for its functionality to its affordability is really what makes it shine. The NT1A is a bright, airy, present microphone. So I've used it a lot for voiceover work. I've used it a lot for acoustic guitars. It's just really meant to bring whatever you're putting in front of it out into whether it's music or whether it's dialogue. It's just meant to do that. And because it's affordable, it's one of the places where I always teach people start there. And of course we want you to grow your mic locker later. But if you start there, you're going to be able to do a lot of really good work, make your money, and then invest in your studio later.
Awesome. So what is the price point of the NT1A right now?
It's $230 as a kit, right? Because it comes with a shock mount, one of the old rubber band style shock mounts. It comes with a pop filter. And for those of you who need a quick rundown of what those are, shock mount isolates the microphone from vibrations, and the pop filter keeps your P's and B's, your pops, your plosives, under control. And so the pop filter comes with it too, so you can sing into it and not have to record those.
Fantastic. Is there any other gear? So if someone buys into this, what other gear is necessary for you to start recording? Do you need special cables or any software, anything like that? Like what's necessary besides the kit that NT1A comes with? What else is necessary to get you going?
Absolutely. That's a great question, primarily because the mic is just a mic. And with the digital age today, I always like to apologize for the fact that you buy that kind of professional gear to do that job, right? And it's not really an apology. It's kind of knowing what you're buying, but it's an XLR microphone and that's what it is. So you need an audio interface, you need a mixer, you need some kind of conversion. Because we're in the digital age, most things need to go to a computer, right? If you're talking old school, it used to be tape machines, recorders that actually had spinning tape on them, so you can make a record. So it had to go somewhere. So you need that next piece of gear to get that. In the digital age, that's going to most likely be an audio interface. And so the Rode AI1, the new Rodecaster Pro, something like that will get you over into something to plug your microphone in to then use it to the next stage.
Okay. So just, like a podcast, like you said, the Procaster or some sort of audio recorder at least.
Exactly. Zoom H5, Tascam recorder of some kind.
Gotcha.
Yep, that's going to be your next stage.
Is there any real difference in terms of audio quality? Because I know there's some mics out there, more mics are coming out that are a USB interface. Is there a real difference why someone would choose an XLR adapter or an XLR audio mic versus a USB mic?
They can be subtle. And the first thing I always teach in my classes is distance and proximity to the microphone. The only reason is because you can't make the room sound better if you're farther away from the microphone. So if you get closer to like an audio device, like a USB microphone, it can still sound really good. Especially for maybe a prosumer, like somebody kind of on the lower side of professionalism, somebody that's an amateur just getting started, but trying to do better audio. A USB mic can be very beneficial to that. But once you get an XLR is a lot of security. You get distance. You can literally run an XLR microphone like hundreds of feet with the cable. The XLR cable allows for that. It's also full fidelity. Just to simplify it, you get full frequency response, you get full functionality from that microphone because it's doing everything that's designed to do. So distance from it can be cool, like especially if you're doing live sound, right? You got a microphone on the stage and the NT1A may not necessarily be for that, but let's say it's in a studio, you can run that XLR from that microphone all the way over to your control room and not have any degradation at all. USB
Hmm.
microphone obviously cannot run that far. So you have to
Gotcha.
be cautious of things like that. But tonally, there are people out there who say that they can hear a difference, and that's
Hmm.
true. But for most people at this price range, at this functionality, they're probably going to be fine with either. The last thing I'll say on that is that you have better gear in an XLR microphone. So the next stage we were talking about with
Hmm.
interfaces, they do that job themselves, and they're not sharing that role. So if
Gotcha.
you get a USB microphone, it's doing all the things, right?
Hmm.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Hmm.
If you get the audio interface that's just an audio interface, it does that job better. So it can convert better. You get more
Okay.
level, so you can turn it up more.
Hmm.
If you just depend on your computer to do that, it's not as good. So
Okay.
it gives you more security overall.
Okay, so this NT1A is a really good first step for someone who wants to go a more professional route, and you'll probably see that in more professional recording studio situations. Whereas this a USB microphone, for example, would be more of a starter home Zoom podcast recorder kind of situation, right?
Exactly. And I'll
Okay.
give you one more touch on that just to compare the two, when we talk about it. But XLR is going to be customizable. You can change it,
Hmm.
you can fix it, you can repair it. USB is not. Whatever, if something breaks in the microphone, doing all those jobs, you have to send it back for repair and things like that. It's way more uh, plug and play, right? You just
Okay.
plug it in and set it up on your computer and you're done.
Hmm.
So it's more portable and things like that. Less pieces of gear. But if you're
Gotcha.
looking for professionalism, you want that flexibility in an XLR microphone.
Gotcha. So one of the things that I've heard and I've seen on your guys' website when it talks about these mics is that mics have this self noise that they generate. So what does it mean to have a mic that has self noise, and how does these Rode NT1A mics compare to other competitors when it comes to self noise?
Love that question, especially for the NT1A and the new NT1. Its younger brother that just came out. They have a self noise of 4.5 dBA and 5 dBA. So the NT1A of old is 5 decibels. Uh, why does that matter? What does that mean to anybody? Nothing really, except for that it's a metric. So if you go look at our microphone and then compare it to another microphone, you'll have that same metric and you can compare them. If it's a
Mhm.
higher number, so we're at 5.
Okay.
The professional standard that compares to the NT1A is 7. Would you hear that difference? No. So let's talk about microphones that are inexpensive. Um, let's say just not very well built, right?
Hmm.
Maybe they're even under $100. You can
Okay.
get good microphones in that space, but if you look at that noise floor and it's say 15, 17, 20,
Hmm.
and then you plug it into something like a computer, or if you plug it into an interface that is also inexpensive and also has its own noise, then everybody's familiar with that underneath all their audio signaling,
So it's just
and
gonna be
that's the
white noise
noise
you're gonna
floor.
hear.
That's right. And so to drive that home even further, every bit of circuitry has self noise. Every single thing you plug in, the microphone, the cable, the circuitry inside of your interface, the circuitry inside your computer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Keeping every single one of those at lower noise floor is going to determine whether or not your signal has that or not. Not only that, turning it up, so let's say you do need to get like so right now I'm using the video mic NTG,
Hmm.
and it's got a preamp on the back of it, and I'm plugging it into an ATEM mini. I use this preamp to set the level for the microphone
Hmm.
into the ATEM, and then I just make sure that's at good level. If I were to have to turn this up like to 15 instead of 2,
Hmm.
then I would be upping the noise floor as well. Even though it's a really good microphone going into a really nice switcher,
Hmm.
anything I turn up is going to turn up its noise floor that much more. So if I try to back
Okay.
away from this shotgun microphone by 20 feet,
Hmm.
introduce the noise and all that stuff, then I'd also have to turn it up more. So that's
Gotcha.
also noise floor. So going back to
Okay.
the NT1A, having a microphone at that price point, doing that kind of work with that low of noise floor gives me better chances to have low hiss
Low
in my
white
recording.
noise. Okay. Okay.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
So you had mentioned about self noise and also being able to back away. So the NT1A with its low self noise gives you the flexibility to get further away from your mic if you need to boost it with less white noise or hiss in your recording. In terms of your environment, how is the NT1A, how does it compare in terms of picking up ambient noise? Do I need to worry about soundproofing my space? How much do I need to soundproof it before it's going to start picking up? If I'm trying to do podcasting, voice recording, like you mentioned, guitar recording in my apartment, how much do I need to soundproof my space before I start picking up my neighbors or anything else that's going on?
Right. And this is a conversation that we could probably have for a couple hours. So the summation of that is that this is what's known as a condenser microphone, and condenser microphones are hypersensitive. Not only that, the secondary tech piece that I'll mention about it is what's called the polar pattern. And if you've ever heard the words omnidirectional, cardioid, or supercardioid, this is a shotgun microphone. It's a supercardioid microphone, and shotgun is just a nickname. The NT1A is what's known as a cardioid pattern microphone. Without getting too, again, deep into it, it cancels behind the microphone. So if I put the back of the microphone into, like, pointed at whatever's bad, it helps reduce that, and then captures mostly what's in front of me. A supercardioid like this is more at the 35s, 40 degrees off the backside. So more of the sides. So with the NT1A, because it's condenser, it's made as a condenser to be sensitive so that what it records is true to the environment. So with condenser microphones, I tend to tell people more, use your ears. If your room sounds bad to your ears, it's going to definitely sound bad to your microphone. And the microphone can't distinguish, right? So yeah, if your dog barks, if something happens over out on the street and it's loud, it's going to pick it up. And not to be super, picky about this, but I teach beginners, right? And so soundproofing versus what's called reflection filtering is typically the conversation that we're talking about here. Soundproofing is, I will not hear somebody talk beyond this door. That's soundproofing. They could scream and I won't hear them. Reflection filtering is a little more important to us because it's my voice I'll talk and it'll bounce off this wall right behind my camera and come back to the microphone. So I want to knock down that reflection. This is where we're talking about the old egg crate method. Please don't do that. It doesn't really work. But buying foam, right? So you could buy foam. There's a bunch of DIYs that you can do. And literally right behind my camera right now, I have 3 panels so that when I talk at you guys with my microphone here, it hits those panels and it absorbs it. Right. So the condenser microphones, this is a condenser microphone, is twofold, right? The only way to reduce those reflections is to filter the wall and or get the microphone closer. The other thing is to choose a microphone. Unfortunately, not the one we're talking about today, but the opposite of a condenser microphone is a dynamic microphone. So let's say you're doing a podcast and you're done trying to fix the room and it just isn't working and you're frustrated. Then just switch to a dynamic microphone instead of a condenser microphone, and that will help as well. So keeping your voice or the space from bouncing around. So to answer your question further on, can I get farther away from it? If you have a decent room, I have a big rug on my floor. I have those panels on the wall. So I would feel perfectly confident backing up from this condenser microphone a little bit more. Even if I like step back like this, if I lean back, you're going to hear it change. And then even if I get closer into here, you're also going to hear that change. So after that, it becomes an artistic endeavor and you choose according to what it sounds like,
Awesome. So I've heard the term like dynamics processing when it comes to audio. So you're saying basically with this NT1A, as long as you've got a solid space where you're not getting that audio reflection and it's pretty soundproof, or at least to the point where you don't have people actively moving around or loud noises in the room, I shouldn't have to do a lot of post-processing on this audio for it to sound really good, right?
Correct. And that always helps finalize, but I always and forever will preach the out can only be as good as the in, and of course things like, so again, super nerdy stuff here, but humans hear and speak in a certain width of frequencies and they all happen at the same time. If you're familiar, if you've ever heard, on the TV shows, if they bleep out a cuss word or if the emergency warning test, that's one frequency. sounds super pleasant, right? Just beep,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
Humans don't talk that way. We don't hear the world that we live in that way. We hear them all together.
Hmm.
So post-processing is the cleanup part. But if you get it wrong in the first place, you cannot clean it up enough. So this is the first
Right.
part that matters. So having good microphones with good interfaces, even at an affordable price, using them correctly is step one. After that,
Gotcha.
then I need to make it more loud. Like radio hosts have a very distinct voice, whether you're using
Hmm.
condensers or dynamic mics. And that's because they process a lot.
Right,
It's the
right.
same no matter what they do, where they do it. And we've kind of gotten used to that over the years. But do you have to do that just to be professional? No, not in any way. No stretch of the imagination do you have to do that. But you wouldn't also want to leave it hanging and just record what happened. You would want to do a little bit of processing. And there's a million different websites and apps to even do that if you don't want to personally learn.
All right. Well, that about wraps it up. Any other final thoughts that you have, Ryan, about the NT1A?
No, I think those were great questions, so I appreciate that. And I hope everybody got a good little rundown of what the NT1A can do for them.
Perfect. Well, that was super informative for us. I learned a lot. So thanks for joining us. And again, thanks for tuning in.